Recently, Our Lady Perpetual Help celebrated its 106th anniversary of our founding. And when you look back over more than a century of being around, one could say, what have been some of the high marks of this parish's history? Where have they put their investment? What has been on the top of their list of priorities? And I think one could say with a lot of confidence that one of the markers of Our Lady of Perpetual Help over its 106 years has been its investment and concern for the education and the formation of children. In 2026, we have the largest Catholic school in the Archdiocese of Chicago, and we have, if not the largest, one of the largest religious education programs with over 400 children. And so this parish has really, put its money where its mouth is. It's really invested in our children, whether they're in the school or in religious education. Every year on the last Sunday of January, we kick off Catholic Schools Week. And it's an effort of all of our Catholic schools across the country, from the Canadian border to the southern border, from the East Coast to the far reaches of Hawaii and Alaska, to celebrate this remarkable network of Catholic schools. Every single day, hundreds of thousands of children across the country are being formed in Catholic schools. It was in 1929 that OLPH School was founded. Now, you history buffs might suggest that was probably not the best year to be opening a school with the ravages of the Great Depression going on. But there was something in the DNA of being founded at that time of such tumult and national crisis. There was in our DNA as a school, we can do it. And not only can we do it, but we can do it pretty good as we look back on 97 years of existence. I wish I had access to a time machine. After Mass today, you're going to be invited, if you'd like, to come over to an open house over at the school. And if you haven't been over to the school, maybe you don't have children of a school age, or you haven't been in the school for a long time, why don't you come over and just see what a beautiful place it is. But I would love if I could turn on this time machine and Father Martin Schmidt and that first group of sisters could see what happened to this little country schoolhouse that they founded in 1929. We are now a sprawling campus of 8 buildings. People often say to me, OL looks like a college campus. Why do you have all these buildings? Typically, a parish has a church, a school, a convent, and a rectory. But Glenview was kind of one of the epicenters of the suburban growth in the 40s and the 50s. And as the enrollment kept growing and growing, they kept adding buildings to accommodate all these children. In fact, at one point, there were so many students and a lack of classrooms, we had mobile classrooms in the parking lot to accommodate all of the children. At one point, our convent, which looks like it's one building, currently the Parish Ministry Center, is actually 3 buildings. Because at one time we had 40 sisters teaching in our school here at Our Lady Perpetual Help. And so our school has kept growing as the parish has grown. And we celebrate this week the important influence our school has had on generations of OLPHers. And we celebrate that legacy. When we talk about a mission of a Catholic school, there's never a mission. There are many elements to the mission of a Catholic school. First of all, we are a school. So part of our mission is, what are we teaching our children? And we want our kids to have all of the academic tools that they need to be effective and successful in this world that we live in. And we are in District 34, that has some of the highest performing schools in the state of Illinois, if not the nation. And so we have to be competitive in providing the kind of education that will benefit our children. And nowadays there are many assessments that take place in the course of a year: reading comprehension, mathematics skills, science principles, how the school children are developing academically and intellectually. And nowadays, schools are very nimble. If there's some red flag that there's a deficiency somewhere, we don't have to wait for a year to assess it. The teachers evaluate these results and make changes to be as adaptive to the needs of our students as possible. And OLPH consistently meets national benchmarks, if not exceeding them, which is a great acclamation of the quality of our faculty and the support of our parents. But there's another part of the mission. So one thing is, what are we teaching our kids? Who do we want these children to become? And this is a much more difficult thing to assess than reading comprehension. How are our children growing in their empathy skills, their sense of compassion? How are we helping them to be more other-centered than self-centered? How are we helping them to realize that they are loved by the Lord and that God has blessed them with faith, and they're on this journey of growing as a person of faith? That's one of the areas that distinguishes OLPH School, as it invests a lot of its energy in the formation of our students. You know, I get to interact with the kids, in many different ways in the course of a year, but the two grades that I probably interact the most with are second grade and eighth grade, the sacramental years. And it always blows me away. There's nothing more beautiful than the faith of a second grader as they're getting ready for First Holy Communion and First Reconciliation. They remind us all about the mystery of faith and this dimension of faith that transcends learning academic information. It's the encounter they have with the sacred. They hear their grandparents recalling the day they made their First Holy Communion, and they realize that this is a very significant moment in their young lives. I meet with the eighth graders for interviewing. I'm supposed to make sure that they know what the gifts of the Holy Spirit are, and they know what it means to be confirmed, and what does the bishop say when he says, be sealed with the Holy Spirit. Well, the kids know that. They've learned that. I'm much more interested as they're moving on to the next chapter of their life. What are they bringing from their experience here as they move into high school? What are some of the things that they've learned about being a good person or a faith-filled person? How is that shaping them as they move into the teenage years and young adulthood? Not a week goes by that I don't run into somebody who says, oh, Father, I graduated from OLPH in 1971. I graduated in 1986. I graduated in 1992. And I'm just always struck at the influence our young people are having on the world, in the marketplace, in the community, in the larger world that they live in. I'm struck at the friendships that are formed. I do a lot of weddings, and if the bride or groom are graduate from OLPH, sometimes half the bridal party are their classmates from OLPH. That's how significant these friendships become over time. And no matter the fact that they went to different high schools, they went to different colleges, there's some of those friendships that stayed with them a lifetime. And that says a lot about this community. Today, in the gospel, we hear the call of the apostles. And, this gospel is often used when we give vocation talks. And in the traditional framework, we talk about the single life, the married life, the religious life, our life occupations as being our vocation. But the gospel is more profound than that, because our vocation is not just simply what we're doing, but who we are as a person. And one of my hopes and dreams about the formation we create here at OLPH is starting out in these formative early years of assuring these young students they have a relationship with Jesus Christ. and that they are beginning a lifelong journey of answering the question, what do you ask of me, Lord? What do you ask of me? How can I be a more faithful follower? It begins at baptism when the priest or deacon claims that child for Christ by tracing the cross on their foreheads. And throughout their life, whether they're in nursery school or a hospice unit, the question is, how am I responding to the call of the Lord? Andrew and Peter and James and John, they left everything behind to follow the Lord. And in our journey together with these students, some of them with preschool and grammar school, we're talking 11 years, 12 years, 13 years. They'll hopefully never be in another academic institution that long. But in the course of these years, how are they being formed to be outstanding young people of faith? And we can be confident that they're getting the tools. And they can get those tools because of the support of their parents and for the support that this larger parish invests in our programs that assist not only our school but our religious education program. We celebrate our Catholic schools this week. We thank God for the gift of 97 years of a school here at OLPH. These are challenging days for Catholic schools, and it says a lot that our school is thriving. Our school is thriving, and we can confidently say the best days are ahead. Happy birthday, OLPH School!
Thank you for joining us today. Our digital ministry provides a valuable service to parishioners and visitors alike. Daily and Sunday Mass, funerals, weddings, and fireside chats, among other things, can be seen locally, throughout the country, and even the world, in real time or at one's convenience. If you would like to support this effort, please go to olphglenview.org. Click on the gold Donate button and then the Sunday Giving icon to make a contribution on our secure online giving portal. We sincerely appreciate your past and ongoing support. Thank you for helping us continue this ministry. God bless.